Welcome to the Endurance Lab podcast. My name is Dr. Bill Evans, professor of exercise science, and this podcast covers the physiology of some of the most elite athletes, as well as some of their coaches, exercise and sports scientists. Today's podcast includes one of the best runners in American history, and his name is Evan Jager. He's an Olympic silver medalist in the steeple, and now he currently works for a company called Nomeo that sells shots made of broccoli sprouts, which contain something called isofluranes that rapidly produce free radicals and actually enhance lactate clearance, although the pathways aren't fully understood. If you're new to the podcast, make sure you go and check out some of our previous episodes. And if not, then welcome back. We're glad to have you. If you're interested in coaching, you can apply online at endurancelaboratory.com, or you can click the link on my Instagram page at Dr._Evans_running. We've also started posting these to YouTube. I'm not great at YouTube, so just got to bear with it. But if you like to watch your podcast, you can go watch them there, or you can stream this anywhere you get your podcasts. If you guys have any questions or topics you want me to cover, feel free to DM them to my Instagram at Dr._Evans_running, or you can shoot me an email at dr.evans.running. All right, I think that covers most of it. I hope y'all enjoy the episode. Thanks for listening. Hello and welcome to the Endurance Lab podcast. I am super excited today to have Mr. Evan Jager on the podcast. This is actually the second iteration of this podcast because the first time we did it, we had some technical difficulties. So he has graced me with his presence a second time, and I'm really honestly lucky to have him. He and I were just talking a good bit about his transition into retirement, and that's crazy to say because he's so young. So Evan, I want to first off thank you for coming back on. Seriously,
yeah,
it is. I genuinely appreciate it. So you retired. What was kind of the first inclination, and I'll say physiologically or in your training, that kind of suggested to you that, hey, this might not be working like it used to?
Honestly, the first time was like 2019. After I had a massive injury, I was kind of running through. I was basically running on a stress fracture in my foot for 6 months. That was undiagnosed basically, and so it led to a lot of compensation stuff, and I was driving myself crazy, thinking what's wrong with me, and obviously couldn't run normally, and there was a lot of periods during that time where I was I'm never going to be able to run like my old self again. So I definitely had thoughts of retiring as early as spring 2019. And that initial injury happened at the end of the track season in 2018, probably September, end of October or end of August. So, some definitely dark days during that time. But yeah, obviously ran for quite a few years after that.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask a maybe follow-up question. You don't have to answer it, but when you said those were some dark days, I think that's probably relatable for a lot of people, especially whether you're elite or sub-elite or recreational. Father time comes for us all, and even independent of that, we all get hurt. I mean, there are a few people who have never been injured. Yeah. Given that you're an Olympian, when you say we had some dark days, what practically did that look like for you? Was it a lot of doubt? Was it just what's the point? What was there a recurring thought? Was it anger? What were you feeling?
Definitely a lot of doubt. I think part of it was I was at the peak of my running career, basically, and had thought that success was just going to keep going for at least a few more years. And I wanted to, still be on top, basically. So definitely a lot of doubt about ever getting back to feeling like myself running again. I think that was the first. That was I really realized how much I just loved the feeling of running, like at that time. Especially when like things are going well. Like it just I just felt like I was doing what I was made to do, basically. And so having like feeling like I couldn't do that anymore was really tough. I probably had like a ton of self-worth and self-confidence like rolled into my own running. So having that like taken away from me was really hard. Um, yeah, doubt, pain, obviously. I mean, I basically ran every step for like 6 months, like in pain or trying to avoid pain, which just like, I think put my whole like nervous system on edge, basically. And then, yeah, for sure, like, I think I was depressed, honestly. I didn't really like ever talk to anyone, but like, yeah, just the way I remember feeling was it definitely felt like depression. So,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of dark days for sure. And like, I'm not the best at like, you know, opening up and talking about that kind of stuff myself. So like, I held a lot of it in, which definitely did not help.
That is not good. But
No.
I I think it's honestly, thanks for being honest. And
Yeah.
I think it's good for people to hear this from because you hear this often, but hearing it from even Olympians, like it's not something that you can avoid necessarily by your status or your performance or your lack of performance or whatever it is. It's something that's very real and human. And I often think that because you're an Olympian, get mythologized as like
Mm.
this man myth legend who's never felt pain, who's never been, you finish the race and, John Career just ran Boston. And I had a few people message me like, how is he able to finish? He's not even in pain. He doesn't even look like he's tired or sore.
Hmm.
And I'm like, it's not, trust me, he's tired. Like he's
Yeah.
sore.
Yeah.
And so I think it's good to kind of humanize Olympians in this way. I just feel like they're so often turned into just Greek gods or immortals, and you're not. Like you're humans. You have
Yeah.
emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. For
Um,
sure.
so what in your life was able to kind of pull you out of that? Was there anything in particular that you kind of like were able to point to or find new
Um,
purpose in?
uh, no, I basically just finally got healthy again. Because I think I was still really, really holding on, um, to the fact that like I didn't feel like like my competitive days were over. So that was the biggest thing. It was like I'm still like in my peak right now, or close to it. Like I still have like high level running left in me. I just need to get healthy. And so, um, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some times of feeling better running, sometimes of like not feeling good running, but I just kind of knew deep down that like I needed to get fully healthy again to like yeah, kind of get out of the funk. And I still think like if I was still injured and like unable to run, there would be part of me that would still be like pretty sad about that, because it's just like, running's just something that I just love to do, and like the movement just like it's just like soothing to me, basically. um so that was a big part of it. And ultimately I like took time off and got healthy and got back to like high level running, and then got injured again and was in this huge cycle. So um from then on, each like injury cycle got like, even though it sucked, like it was a little more manageable, and getting healthy again like helped every time. And yeah, I don't think I realized like how stressed I was, I guess, like in terms of like being able to perform and like my performances and everything until like I retired. And then I started like kind of training for fun and like at like moderate level and doing like moderate workouts that are like a little bit hard, but not like at my max. Uh, was like so nice. It was like so enjoyable. I was like, oh my gosh, I could do this forever, basically. Whereas like when I retired, I was like, I'm never doing another workout again because I was just like so fed up. Yeah, basically.
Yeah. And I think you hit on something early. Those workouts are very enjoyable when you crush them. They are miserable when you're running as hard as you can and you're not running what you think you should, or you don't feel like you're running up to your potential. And father time comes for us all. There's no beating aging. I will tell you that there's some studies that show that between the ages of 35 and 55, the drop in performance is pretty much minimal. Like there's not that much of a drop in performance. Most of the drop with aging is due to a drop in heart rate, max heart rate, because your VO2 is equal to your heart rate times what we call your stroke volume, which is how much blood your heart pumps with each beat. And then you multiply that by something called your AVO2 difference, which is kind of a muscle parameter, how well they can extract oxygen. So as you age, only one of those parameters change, and that's actually heart rate. It drops as you age. And one thing that is interesting is, believe it or not, elite athletes, highly, highly trained athletes, young or old, their max heart rates actually can go down a little because they need time for the heart to fill with blood. And if the heart is beating too fast, there's no time for it to fill. It's like a fluid physics problem. So believe it or not, I tend to think that as you get a little older, part of the reason we don't see a whole lot of change is because the filling time is actually greater because heart rate's not so fast. So it's
interesting.
Yeah, that's like one theory I have. And I've noticed too, like when I'm out of shape, my max heart rate's higher because I'm not fit. And I don't know about you, but have you noticed any physiological parameters, whether it's heart rate or lactate or whatever, that when you went from training full-time, super elite, Olympian, to kind of training or maybe even detraining a little bit, that you're like, oh, that's different?
Yeah, I have noticed, I didn't do much lactate testing when I was running professionally. I did a little bit last year. But yeah, I wasn't doing it properly. I wasn't doing the training properly and didn't utilize it properly, basically. But heart rate for sure, I feel like I've noticed my max, I can get my heart rate up higher now than I could like last year, basically. And yeah, I wasn't really, I assumed it was because I was in worse shape. But I also feel like I was like way overtrained last year. And so I feel like when I was doing hard workouts, my heart rate would get up really high and I would just be like swimming, basically, like very early on in the workout. And my reserve fitness wasn't big enough to kind of carry me through the workout. Whereas now I feel like I've been training consistently and at like an appropriate level to where like my heart rate builds a little bit better. And I've been able to get my heart rate has been like higher in some of my hard workouts, which I find very interesting. Yeah, I feel better. I also feel better at that heart rate than I did last year.
So you're saying
I can hold that.
Your max heart rate seems to be a little higher. Like if you're running threshold, the heart rate's higher, but you don't feel as bad.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that aligns with what I've experienced too. Is like the more fit I get, the harder it is for me to work out at those higher heart rate zones. And it's kind of frustrating because you think that, oh, my heart rate's only 175. Like I should be good, but you're rigging. and
Yeah.
you feel like you're just, like you said, swimming. And I think a big part of that is the muscle side. So I mentioned that there's the AVO2, which is something we call arterial venous oxygen difference. And it is the difference in your muscle's ability to take oxygen out of the arteries, which take blood away from the heart. It's oxygenated blood, and then deliver it into the muscle and then put it into the vein. So when you were training a lot, you inevitably had some workouts that you really liked and some workouts that you absolutely did not like. And I'm talking when you're at your peak, prime, like, best shape of your life.
Yeah.
Is there one workout that stands out as like, that workout was great. I loved that workout. That felt like the best workout I ever did and the most beneficial, both from a performance and reward. And then what's the worst workout?
I'm going to start with the worst workout, because that definitely sticks with me a little bit more. And it was something that we revisited all the time. And I was just like, I just always hated it. And it was always 400 or 500 like repeats on the track with 100 jog in like 30 seconds. And, when you're a young athlete with older training partners, it's especially brutal. And ultimately, this was like a workout that everyone did together. And so you'd have 10K and marathon guys doing this with 1,500 meter guys and the steeplers, and everyone would like take out their demons on everyone else in different ways. So like the like strength oriented, the 10K marathon guys always squeezed the rest. And so it would be like, 20, 22 second jog for like those reps. And then like every once in a while, like you'd have someone that would just run like, 2 seconds per 400 faster than what we should do. And it was one of those workouts where like the rest that you're taking is not like actual rest, because like 25 meters of the rest on one end and 25 meters of rest on the other end is like slowing down and speeding back up. So it really feels like you get like 10 seconds of like true rest during that jog. So I always hated it. It was always something that Jerry would give us like right around Thanksgiving for the first time. And he loved giving us workouts that were like kind of prove it workouts, just like show how bad you want it. And like sometimes I never felt like I was like fitness wise prepared for that type of workout. I like need to be built up to like a certain fitness type to like do that type of workout. And it always felt like too much for me. So it always sucked. I would say my...
interrupt you for a second. What were some of your splits for those 500s, like coming through the 400s? Do you remember? Like, what was the fastest workout you've ever done? What were you running those in? The 400
I mean, I think the fastest I ever did was probably like 66s, maybe down to maybe 66s, 64s, something like that.
I'll give it a go today.
Just kidding. Yeah, good luck. Yeah, and ultimately, I was always doing it with someone that was like a better 10K athlete than I was, so it was always brutal. My favorite, honestly, was probably always speed. I loved the speed workouts, especially when I was like pre-injury, pre like major injury. That I just always loved that. There was like a couple
8x200 or go ahead.
No, like there was 1 or 2 years where we did like all out speed, basically, where we do like a run, and then on a turf we would do hard diagonals across the turf with like acceleration changes where you're like all out sprinting at the end. And then we would do 400, 300, 200, basically all out with like max rest, like 8 to 10 minutes rest. And there was like a couple of times where we ran like 50, 51, 36, 35, and then like 23s. And then,
Wow.
and then we would do, after that, so that was 4, 3, 2. And then we would do 10 by like 150 with like accelerations each 50, where you're like all out sprinting the last 50 meters, and then come back and do 200, 300, 400 and try to run the same splits. And so it was like a super duration long workout. But it was like so much fun running those paces. And then another one, I did like a 700 breakdown where I did 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like, and I think I started at like 54 pace through the 700. So I think if I would have finished, it would have been like a 148. And then, got down. I probably ran like 24 seconds at the end.
Dang.
So that one was super fun.
Wow.
The 5K sessions were always fun. 5K steeple sessions were always fun, and good. But I loved the speed. It was really fun. Didn't do enough of it, honestly.
Did you ever get to drop an 800 or 1500 guy in some of the speed work?
No.
Dang
No.
it.
We had like Lopez Lamong and like
He was all right.
Matt Centrowitz and Josh Thompson, one of our 1500 guys. He was like super quick. So I don't think I ever dropped any of those guys. But the 5K guys, I would drop from time to time.
Heck yeah. Yeah, you would. That is those are awesome. And it's interesting. I feel like a lot of the movement now is obviously very heavy threshold based, but I actually think there might be a pendulum swing coming back to some of this stuff. I was talking with Trent McFarland last week. He just ran 3:33 in the 1500 at Wake. And he said that they do a workout that's like 1K hard, basically at race pace, more or less, and then a 200, and then 800 hard, 200, 600 hard, 200. He said that, they've done some workouts where they've gone like 642, where, their 600s, they're coming through in 126, 125. Yeah. And for him, that's mile pace. But, the 400 and the 200, they're cooking. Like his 200s, he is like 25 or faster, he's just moving. And so it's interesting. Like I would say there's more than one way to skin a cat. And
of course,
at the end of the day, well, I don't always say that because people have cats, but that people with cats don't like that. But I do think that doing that dedicated speed work when you're running hard like that, like you have to do it. You can't avoid it. You got to do it in the race. So you got to do it at some point.
I felt like more than anything, it made my 5K pace and 5K steeple pace just feel so much easier. And it like cleaned me up and like helped my like running efficiency almost. I just felt way, way more on top of my running when I was doing that like really hard speed work.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you can move a mountain, you can move a molehill, but it doesn't matter how many molehills you move, you never move a mountain. And so the idea, I think, is if you can increase that kind of ceiling, then you increase your what we call your sprint speed reserve. So at any given intensity, you're working at a relatively lower speed. And where's I now have all 3 editions of Jack Daniel's running formula here.
Oh, nice.
He's rest in peace, but he he was really big on running economy. Not many people know that, but that was kind of his baby. So he wrote a really good review in like 1980s. And one of the things he mentions is that you have to run fast, which is why if you open up any of his programs, he often starts with pretty much all year you're doing strides or 200s at mile pace, like pretty much all the time.
Wow. I wish I had done that.
Well, you still can. Just take Nomeo beforehand. It might help. You recently started working for a company that published some like very high level research actually that I read recently on blood lactate and its accumulation in response to consumption of broccoli sprouts, which sound interesting. Like, I know very little about broccoli sprouts, but can you tell me a little bit about what is the company? I know what it's called, but what is it? What does it claim to do?
Yeah, so I work for Nomeo, and before working for Nomeo, I probably knew absolutely nothing about broccoli sprouts. And now I've just had, especially my first month or two, had just an absolute crash course into everything Nomeo and broccoli sprouts and ITCs. And basically, yeah, Nomeo is a performance and recovery oriented shot made from broccoli sprouts, sugar, and lemon. And
there's alcohol in it? It's a shot.
No alcohol.
I'm joking.
No. Little 60 milliliter glass bottle. But it honestly has lots of really cool benefits. And the studies around it started off as like a overtraining study, and the initial feedback or data showed that it helped to reduce the effects of overtraining, essentially, which led to a lot of other studies. And since then, I mean, this was like 8-9 years ago. Since then, we found out lots of other cool stuff, and we've seen from the studies that we've done with ITC and in the labs and on endurance sports, reduction of lactate at submax efforts, reduction of oxidative stress in the muscles, some really cool data on blood glucose levels, more stable blood glucose levels, we've heard some anecdotal stuff from athletes when they use it before going to bed for recovery, lots of really, really cool stuff. And so basically helps with performance and then also recovery, like simultaneously, basically.
Yeah. I have so many questions. I don't even know if I have enough time. So you said ITC. What do you know the exact, what does that acronym stand for?
Yeah, isothiocyanates.
Can you tell me a little bit about what it is? And is the broccoli sprout rich in these ITCs, or is it a precursor chemical in the broccoli sprouts that then your body kind of processes to become something else?
Yes, I believe it's the latter. And
okay.
I know basically that it works as like a pro-oxidant in the body. It goes to the body and kind of starts like a chain reaction. Because it is a pro-oxidant, it basically stresses the body and tells it to turn on this like counteracting cycle, which is what in turn produces all of the benefits of Nomeo. So it's a mild pro-oxidant that turns on like basically an antioxidant cycle.
If you gave that response on one of my exams, I would give you 100%. From what I understand, it's a pro-oxidant. And for people that maybe aren't familiar with what that means, your body normally takes oxygen and uses it to make energy. And during that process, you have to extract electrons. And what happens sometimes is they slip out and they make their way into the environment around them, and they're not supposed to. Well, when they slip out, they make something called a free radical. And free radicals are like jealous lovers. So they basically will go find other relationships and they'll steal one of the partners, which will leave a hurt partner behind, and hurt people. So that person goes and finds another relationship and steals one of the partners in that relationship, and now there's a hurt partner behind. And this happens again and again, and it's basically breaks up all these molecular bonds like a hot knife through butter. And it's not until you get to some very important antioxidant steps. So for example, it's been a while since I've thought about this. There's like peroxynitrite, there's superoxide, there's dismutase, superoxide dismutase, certain enzymes that can take these free radicals. It's also one of the things that drives adaptation, because your body responds to the stressors placed on it. And we know that oxidative stress is one of the things that can trigger certain transcriptional factors like AMPK or mTOR. These are just intermediates. I'm sorry, this is deep, but these are molecular intermediates in the body that are going to drive adaptation. So when you take Nomio, what seems to happen is that it acutely, it's like a good stress. It acutely enhances the environment, and then you see a kind of a response to then start clearing out lactate. And I made a post recently about Nomio where I kind of covered the biochemistry a little bit, and I don't have it in front of me, and I'm not going to watch it right now, nor do I have my notes. But there were some interesting comments in there about people being like, well, it's just this or it's just that or whatever. And I think the thing to realize about ITCs is that it's kind of unknown exactly how it does what it does, but there is published data showing that it decreases blood lactate at any submaximal intensity. And so what that means is that ideally you should experience less fatigue and be able to run faster under those conditions. But it's kind of like this drug called metformin for type 2 diabetics, where we don't know how it does what it does, but we know that it works, and it gets prescribed to individuals with diabetes all the time. I suspect that Nomio is like multifactorial. It's not just doing one thing. I think what we're going to see is that it probably does a bunch of things, and that's why you're seeing these like all these different responses, right? Where it's like, oh, that affects recovery. Oh, it seems to affect lactate. Oh, like people feel better. Their RPEs are lower. Their time to exhaustion is better. Which, if you want to read the studies, I think there's a 2018 study and maybe a 2024 study where they basically tested this supplement. I think they did a short-term acute application and then a bit of a longer-term one, and then looked at kind of the physiological responses to acute exercise. And then they also did do a time to exhaustion. Did I miss anything there?
I mean, I've read like a few studies, so I'm not exactly sure which one you're talking about, but that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact dates, but Philip Larson's is one of or Larson. Is it Larson's or Larson?
Larson.
Okay, yeah. He's one of the authors on it. So you can look up his, you can go onto Google Scholar and you can look up his profile, and all of his pubs will show up.
Yeah.
When you used it, like you said, you're still training a little bit. Do you take it like, I guess, what does Nomio recommend? Do they recommend taking it like just before, like during? Should you take it with anything else? Should you not take it with anything else?
Yeah. So like our recommendations are before hard sessions. We don't recommend taking it before like a normal easy training run. Most of our athletes take it before, if they're doing 2 workouts a week and a long run that's maybe a little bit up tempo or something like that, they'll take it 3 hours before each of those sessions and the long run. For athletes that are doing, double threshold training, a lot of them will take it 3 hours before the second session of the day, just sometimes because it's easier with timing, and most of the time because it's the more intense session of the day. And then as well as taking it an hour before bed at night to help speed up recovery. So yeah, a lot of athletes are taking it 3 to 4 times a week with all the training, and 3 hours before. The only thing that we recommend not taking it with would be antioxidants, since it works as a pro-oxidant. But we obviously there's lots of stuff that we can test, and supplements and other training aids that we want to look into and test in conjunction with, and we have plenty of experience lined up. So we don't have science and data to like back a lot of this stuff up, but the only thing that we recommend right now is no antioxidants.
Yeah. I actually think you have a good bit of data because there's a
Well,
lot
yeah.
of there's a lot of supplements that have none. So you guys have like published data, and some of the metrics that they used in that study. This is why I'm really impressed with the product, I think. And frankly, I've never used it, so I need to get some. I'll send you my address. You can just mail me a
Yeah.
massive box.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Appreciate it.
We will.
I was joking, but if that works, then great. I'm impressed because there's actually published data, and some of the tools that they used in these studies, like they took muscle biopsies. That is not easy to do. And then they ran mitochondrial respiration experiments on them. And for context, basically they have to anesthetize the area, make an incision, pull out some muscle, digest that muscle, spin it down. Then they have to isolate the mitochondria. They have to clean that mitochondria. Then they have to put it in a special dish, put like an oxygen probe in it, add some chemicals and fuel, and then block certain things with like rotenone or other inhibitors. And it's like these very complicated experiments to get like complex 3 activity, which is one of the electron transport chain things that tell us like how well your mitochondria work. That is a super complicated experiment. Like, and for context, they didn't see differences in the paper, but I suspect it's because of the methods used, right? Like when you're pulling out a muscle biopsy and you're freezing it and you're like, some of the kinetics of these proteins is quick. You know, it's not, as you know, lactic acid gets produced pretty freaking fast and it gets cleared pretty fast when you're running. But if you're going to like pull out a muscle and put it on ice and spin it down and chop it up, and then you're just not going to see the effects. But I want to do a study on Nomeo where I use an in vivo or in body technique to measure these mitochondrial function. You know, I don't know if I can get access to it, but what is the crowning achievement of your career? And you can't say it's a world championship or Olympic related.
Yeah. Okay. Crowning achievement outside of those medals. I mean, it always comes back to that Paris race. I think I get asked about the Paris race 5 to 10 times more often as the Olympic race, honestly. So
really,
yeah. Fortunately and unfortunately, I think it's the Paris race, and I think honestly it's like up till that last barrier, it was the best race that I ever ran. In terms of like, I think running at my absolute all out capabilities, in like the best way. Mentality wise, going into the race was like just on point, and fitness was obviously at like another level at that point. So maybe that one. And then aside from the medals, the other like big moment that really sticks with me is making the world championship team in 2022 after like all the injuries. That like, yeah, that was super meaningful to me. Obviously, like talked about what I felt like I was going through during that super dark period, and so kind of proving to myself that I could not give up during like tough times and like stick it out and like believe in myself to get back to like the place that I thought I could get to. That was it was almost more valuable than like just about anything else that I did in my career.
Yeah, that is awesome and super relatable. I think I had back surgery when I was 18, and so a big piece for me was trying to, you know, as we know, we put our identity in sport, and then there's a whole thing kind of like you, but to come back and do that is really exceptional. You know, I think returning from injury is hard, especially as you get older. What would you tell a young athlete today? Like you're talking to Cam Myers, he's 20, 19 years old, or Sam Ruthie. What are you gonna tell them that's like, hey, you're young, like this is it right now, whatever. Like what would be your one piece of advice to them?
Yeah, I think my biggest is always just consistency is more important than just about anything. Staying consistent in training and recovery, and not having the big peaks and valleys in training and health, obviously. And then I think like just utter just belief in like it's not even like belief. You just have to know deep down that you can like accomplish something. I think, to really go after your goals and your dreams. And that was something that it was just, I think just about everything that I set in front of me in my career in terms of like goals was just something that I just had full belief in. And it was kind of always just like the next step, basically, instead of like hoping I can do something someday.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And I have a time trial later, so I'm going to think about that.
Yeah.
Evan, it was a pleasure having you. I know you got another meeting, but thank you
Yeah.
so much for chatting with me. Everyone, check us out, endurancelaboratory.com. The podcast is the Endurance Lab Podcast. Go follow Evan if you don't on Instagram. Check out Nomeo. It's an amazing product, according to him. I'll find out when he sends me a bunch of it. But we appreciate you guys for listening. Leave us a comment, a review, and subscribe if you don't.
Thanks for having me.